hoping to be able to spray this car. I mean, it is such a complete transformation that I think that if I don't change its color and make it mine, I'm missing an opportunity.
There were 8 seats with 4 bolts each.
So how many holes were there?
In my long career playing with four-wheel drives, I've been fortunate enough
107.
to have spray painted 2 of them, and I'm about to do a 3rd. So I'm calling the car Colin. Colander. I am Andrew St Pierre White, explorer, overlander and broadcaster with over 40 years driving 4x4s. Welcome to 4X Overland. I'm a prisoner of this hill. Spray painting and changing the colour of a vehicle doesn't just change the way it looks. It changes the way it feels. Letting you in. And that is even more important than the way it looks. The first four-wheel drive vehicle that I ever bought was white, and then after owning it for 6 or so years, had a nasty accident. The chassis was bent, the repair work long, tedious and expensive. Immediately after the repair was finished, but before any spray painting was done, I took it on a wilderness adventure into Botswana, where I had another bad accident. The Range Rover survived. I drove it home like this. And once I got home, I decided I needed a change of luck and that I would paint it in a Range Rover vintage colour called Lincoln Green. Isn't she beautiful? The car's quite nice too. The second opportunity was in 2012. The troop carrier that I acquired in South Africa was Toyota South Africa's second to be imported into the country. I didn't want it looking like a United Nations ambulance, so again decided to paint it, and like the Range Rover, this time used a vintage Toyota Landcruiser colour called Dark Olive, and it was beautiful. Really gorgeous. Hundreds of people around the world copied this idea. And now, for the 3rd time, I have the choice. Well, the obvious choice is another green. But in this case, I do have another option in mind. But whatever way I go, it will be a vintage Toyota Landcruiser colour.
I have 2 choices, and I'd like you to help me decide which colour to paint it. This is Cadet Blue. Like this, it'll be blue with a white roof. Here is my other choice, Nambula Green. This is a troop carrier recently refurbished from the ground up by Hubert and his team. It's truly a thing of beauty. The trouble is, if I do it green, then there was already confusion between my green Troopy, which was my Africa 2011-12 build, and my first Australia 2017-18 build. They were both green. So if I do a 3rd green Troopy, and that's why I think as gorgeous as that is, I'm erring towards the blue, the Cadet Blue. If you remember in 2019, when building the 105, next to it was a Cadet Blue Landcruiser, just like we have now.
Yeah, there's so many holes in this thing.
You know, it's always fun to come here because there's vehicles everywhere in all kinds of states, different engines in them. But look at this.
Look at that green. Hey? Oh,
That is nice.
that's beautiful. I am so torn.
The truth is, Paul is no help at all in helping me decide. So let's find out what's involved in preparing the vehicle for spray painting.
How's it, Jason? All good?
Good,
hey?
man.
Team going well?
Yeah, no problems.
What have we found on our
our 500,000 kilometer truck.
A couple of chips, couple of normal dings and some scratches and that.
Do we tell Andrew that it's really
Hey.
bad? Hey? Yeah, we can't do that to him.
And we got 1 or 2 places here where it's been worked on before. Obviously the screen molding didn't come out, and we got a
But
little
before
bit
we
of,
go there, take me back. I mean, this truck came from up north, where generally there's not a lot of rust going on because it's inland, and that's important. So when it was originally checked, the guys looked for as much as they could, but they're not body shop people. We mechanically checked the car out and looked to see that there was no big accident damage or major overspray.
Yeah.
But with your eye and what you look for, and that for me is really important to know, what are we looking for in a truck like this, and what is the no-go area?
Well, we just make sure that there's no major structural damage or any old collisions in front and on the sides and door gaps and things, just to make sure it hasn't been hit and poorly repaired, and everything looks normal.
I mean, a front end smash is,
It
is the
would be
most
so noticeable.
critical, and
Yeah,
you'd notice it.
Absolutely.
Especially when you look for things that have been resprayed. I mean, we looked here carefully, and rust and corrosion. I mean, that for me is a big problem.
This vehicle has almost got no rust. It's in a very good condition.
Okay, so we can actually tell Andrew it was actually even better buy. But so I think really what we're looking at here is we want to just see the points where you would look in more detail for problems and what you've noticed on this truck, and then what we're going to repair, because we are going to repaint this truck. The idea is go through the whole truck, check any integrity, structure where there might be any problems.
Well, we've gone through and we've looked. There's no rust in the seams. There's no issues here on the upper valances.
Because they often
lower
can
balances.
crack in here,
Absolutely.
especially if people put a second battery in there.
Absolutely,
and there's nothing there.
They do. There was a little bit of a repair needed over here, but nothing major, nothing we can't handle.
Battery acid damage and stuff.
That type of thing.
Okay.
And then here we have a little bit of peeling. The screen was not removed when it had a touch up once upon a time.
I know you've left this in because you
just
wanted to show us that
yeah.
the screen's going to come out, so you can get in there and properly paint it. Now that's important, because even when people change their screens, you can't get away with not changing a screen in the life of a vehicle. But then you find that rust creeps in under the rubbers, because the rubbers get really hard and then they don't seal properly, and then windscreens leak.
Absolutely.
And of course the time to check it is when you take your windscreen out to replace it, and then get it to a body shop to repair it properly. Now, it's going to be interesting when you pull this out to see what the frame is like, but you'll see that in due course.
Yeah. And we've done some work on the floor here.
Oh my God.
There was quite a number of holes there.
No, we actually wanted to keep those holes. Did Andrew not tell you? No, we were supposed to keep all those holes, yeah. The name of the truck has got a really unique name. It's called Colin De.
Okay.
So all the holes.
Sure, we'll have to open them up again then.
Yeah, just a drill or something, just drill a whole lot. We need about, 60 or 70 holes. But no, listen, great, well done. I think to weld the holes up, treat them so there's no rust, and looking underneath the mat here, this is where you will collect rust if there's going to be.
Absolutely, the seams and things here, yeah.
And if there's been a leak from the windscreen, it runs down and of course often rots out the floor panels. So it's something we normally check when you looking to buy cars. Lift up the mat and look underneath there, because
you can also see on the hinges here, it's all got original sealer, it's really nice. It's all factory sealed, so it's awesome. Normal run-of-the-mill scuffs and things here, which we'll obviously be sorting out along with the rest of the body. So
the structure's good, and that's the biggest concern we have.
Very nice.
And you've closed up these vents, which is great.
We've closed up the vents,
Yeah. So that'll be good.
Show you the floor from the back here, man. There was a little bit of corrosion along the surface here, which we've already cleaned up. We spotted a few old repairs there. Nothing wrong with it. It's done really nicely.
Yeah, it was
but
done
we'll
well.
just paint it up and preserve it, and just so that the vehicle can last.
I think always when people look into vehicles like this, the cavities are what you need to look at.
Absolutely.
And that's what often gets neglected. Well, these things leak. Dust comes in, the rear tail lights leak, dust and water, and of course then you get the water build up in there and it rots out these
100%
cavities. So I know part of what we're going to do before we close up here again will be to actually treat the cavities after you've painted.
Yes.
Not before.
That's correct. You've got to do it in the right way,
sequence.
the right sequence.
Yeah. So, and I mean, on the actual shell itself?
Excellent, no problems.
Oh. So actually this car really didn't have any major big accidents.
There was a little bit here and there, but
Yeah.
nothing major.
And I
Nothing
saw
major.
the doors had a little bit of work on them. There were a few dings.
Yeah,
but
there
you
were a
kind of
few. There
expect
were a
that.
few repairs done. I mean, that's normal for a car with this kind of mileage.
Yeah. No, look, it's going to look good. It's, you know, it does show you that an old truck like this, you can build it back into life again. And I think that's something to take away. You know, these trucks are not cheap to buy, and if you've found an old one, it can be very off-putting for people when they see a high mileage and they don't quite know what's wrong with the truck.
Absolutely.
And if I had to ask you the question, when would you walk away from a truck if you were looking at a truck with high mileage or any sort of truck?
Well, I would walk away if I see poor repairs done on the structures of the vehicle. That
Okay.
would be clear telltale signs where I would just, if it wasn't done correctly, I wouldn't even think it through. I would
Yeah.
just walk away.
Especially
I'd
if
leave
it's
it
been
right
a
there.
front or back end smash.
Absolutely.
What goes into preparing the truck before it gets painted?
Well, we've started from the inside. I mean, I believe you start from the inside out. If you want to do a proper job, we will clean up this floor. There's a little bit of surface rust and things
Yeah.
in places.
Yeah.
Most of it's already been completed. And then we put it into a metal edge primer just to preserve the metal.
Yeah.
And from there, we'd start with the preparation process and get this floor essentially ready for color. And
Okay.
we'll take care of all these nasty bits inside that need
And
a little bit
give
of
it a paint.
attention.
Give it a
Absolutely.
paint.
Yeah, we'll give it a coat of paint inside there. And
Especially the visuals here. I mean, this is where you can see a truck has been sort of used.
absolutely.
And
There's
know.
a couple of light dings along here and a few scratches. They'll all be
Yeah.
smoothed out
Yeah.
and repaired. Yeah.
you know, that's
We'll
that's
start that
that's
process.
one of the reasons why I bring my clients' cars to you, because God, you are so fussy, but you're also very hands-on, and for me that's very important. I've watched guys paint cars, I've watched people take shortcuts, and I've sadly, you know, you make a big investment when you do something like this, as you'd paint a house. And if you're going to paint your house and you don't prepare the walls properly, you're actually wasting your money.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
paint these days is not cheap. You know, you can
No,
get
not at all.
varying qualities of paint, and whatever you do, the base preparation. My dad taught me that. He said, you know, if you're going to paint something, you prepare it, you sand it, you get it right, and then you paint it. So the fun part for me was always the painting. But the preparation was
preparation's
the
the hard
grind.
part, yeah.
Actually, I
Absolutely.
think we should have had Andrew here helping out. He's missing out. Anyway, has Andrew actually talked to you about the color? Because
Yeah, he mentioned a few
originally
options.
it's like a real khaki, kind of like bush khaki color.
Very boring.
Yeah, no, it's boring as hell.
No, the last thing he said to me is he's definitely going all out with a pinker. All out
Really?
with a pink. Pink.
The only trouble is that I've had two green troop carriers, and I'm sure people would say, oh, do something different. Well, it is different, it's a different green. It's actually very close to the Australia green. Very close to the Australia green. But that was a wrap. We're not going to wrap this, we're going to paint it.
That really bright,
Super bright,
glossy
pink. There we are.
I don't know.
Well, you know what?
First world problem.
You need to go home and think about this, and percolate the ideas. And now you know the two colors, you've got two to pick from, because I can't send you a picture of it. It'll never be the same. So go home, ask Gwen what she thinks, because I think that's important.
Yeah, I know what she's going to say.
It's going to stand out.
For sure.
God, blimey. Okay, well, I'm
I think,
here.
I
We're
think
going to film it.
he's going for that effect.
Yeah, no, it's a hell of an effect, I can promise you. We'll see.